Let's do this thing. Good morning. It's Monday. I'm Jeff Blankenburg, and you're on my channel. So we've been in some crazy times right now, right? Um, Everybody's working from home, and well, not everybody, but a good majority of people. There's a lot of amazing people that are not working from home in hospitals and grocery stores and everywhere else, and I'm incredibly thankful for all of them. Good morning, Trade Last. But it's a weird time. I've been in my house a month now, except for a couple of grocery store trips. I've got a beard to go with it. I've been trying to get some exercise, so I guess I get outside the house to go for a run or a walk, but nothing really more than that ever. There's not a lot of like going places. I start my car once a week just to make sure the battery doesn't die. But things are going good here. It's a little somber. It's not as exciting and fun and enjoyable as life used to be, but it's manageable. Good morning, ice cream. Thank you for joining. It's good to see you guys here on a Monday morning. But still have lots going on, right? I actually had a pretty busy weekend between a few projects around the house and playing a bunch of board games with friends that are remote. And so I wanted to start talking about that because I thought that was kind of cool and interesting. And if you guys haven't seen it, see if I can bring my browser up. There is this website, boardgamearena.com. I don't know if you guys have heard of this or if you like board games or even if you don't. There's a lot of cool stuff on here. And so I have been playing a few games over the weekend, but if you click on games here, you can see that they've got a bunch of board games like Carcassonne. We played a bunch of Seven Wonders this weekend. They also have a bunch of card games in here, so if you come in and choose things like Yahtzee, you can come in and play a game of Yahtzee remotely with your friends, which is kind of cool. And it does all the scoring and has all the rules and everything for you. But it's nice that this is all kind of in one place. There's also a game that me and my friends have played since middle school. It's a card game called Back Alley, and they have a variant of it. The name of the game that they have on here is called Oh Hell, which is not a game I'd played before, but I found this in looking for synonyms for the game I was trying to find. And they have the game, right? They have it where you can come in and you declare Trump and you can bid on tricks and all the stuff that you normally do in the game. And the scoring was a little off, so we kept scoring manually. And it worked really well. But the cool thing about this, and something that I'm going to have to explore this week, is that there's an entire developer side to this website. And you can create your own games, and it's all built in PHP and SQL and or maybe MySQL, but behind the scenes there's a bunch of coding that you can do to create your own games. And so this is something that I'm going to explore because I'd like to be able to port this Oh Hell version over to the Back Alley version that I play that has slightly different rules, and there's a little bit more to understand and know as you're going through it. But to have it enforce all those rules and have a way for us to play this game remotely would be super cool. Good morning, LJ. Alexa, set Office Life X to white. Man, that just looks so much better with white behind me, but I'm sure you guys will do your best to change it. I've also changed my sign. Decided to talk about Chewbacca today, so if you guys want to give that a try. How to build Alexa companion skills for board games. That's a great post. And it talks about how you can build basically voice experiences for Alexa devices. And there's a white paper on it. But the cool thing, one of the things they did is they built Ticket to Ride. And you can set up your own board locally at home, and then you can play against AI basically that will play the game with you, and so they can make their own moves. Now you have to move the stuff on the board for them, of course, because AI doesn't have hands, at least not yet. And so that's talking about not only can you play these games, which is super cool, but you can also build your own to be able to build companions to be able to play these kinds of games. So thank you for sharing that, Trade Last. That's a good call out. I have played the Ticket to Ride one a couple of times, and it's good. it's fun to play, and if you're looking for people to play with, that's a good way to solve that problem. Okay, so I wasn't going to spend all day talking about board games. I did want to spend some time actually getting into building the stuff that I'm building, but I feel like with all of the time that we're all spending at home and the distance that we're keeping from our friends and family and loved ones, sometimes this is a good way to connect. And so I thought I'd share that with everybody, is that Board Game Arena is pretty cool. And they have some limitations in that I've only found their ability to support about 25,000 users, and if they get over that number, then you can't even log into the website. But what's nice about this is that if you have a paid account, then you aren't bothered by that limitation. And so a monthly subscription is $4 a month. And if you are paid, then anyone you play with gets access to that too. So you can invite people, and that gives them priority and things like that. So I chipped in the $4. I'll probably let it run for a few months, but you could also buy an entire year for $24. It's basically $2 a month if you buy the year up front. And so this gives you a bunch of other options, like being able to video chat directly in their interface, doing audio conversations so you don't have to use Zoom or Skype or something like that. It's pretty nice. And so I'm a big fan of this website. I don't love the interface. I'm a UI guy, and this UI is pretty terrible, but it does allow you to play the games. And I think that's pretty cool. Yeah, if you go to Ice Cream, if you go to create a table for a game, one of the things that you have as an option down here is video and audio. The one limitation it has is you can't use it with more, the audio or video, you can't use it with more than 4 players. So I don't know if that's a limitation of their UI or of their technology stack or whatever, but they do have those options where you can basically create video and audio conversations. There's also a table-based chat, so as you're on a table with other people, you can chat and only the people at that table can see it. So again, this isn't a paid commercial or anything like that. This is just something that I found help us pass some time this weekend, and it worked really well. I was impressed, and I'm very interested in looking into the developer side of things. So if you go to studio.boardgamearena.com, and here is where you can build stuff in say PHP and SQL, HTML, JavaScript. So it's a pretty familiar web stack. So this is kind of interesting. And then they also have this sandbox, which I don't know exactly what that is. If you just want to implement some rules, I'm not sure yet. I only started exploring this morning. But the fact that I'm a developer and I love board games, this seems like a natural fit for me. So it's just a matter of figuring out now what to do, how to do it. And ideally, what I'd love to do is be able to take that Oh Hell version, the game that I found that we played, and port it, right? To just modify it a bit to change some rules and things. I don't know if that's actually possible. I've reached out to the developers. This whole portal gives you information on who the developers are, and I've reached out to them, and we'll see what comes of it. But I thought that some of you might be interested in this stuff too, for those of you that love board games. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about that. I'm not gonna stay on there. I'm not gonna stay logged in because I don't want people that want to play to get blocked just because I'm in there. But one of the things that I did want to do today was to come into my scavenger hunt skill that we've been building. I've been thinking more about the kinds of clues that I want to send. I didn't work on this at all over the weekend, and for those of you that tuned in on Friday, we spent a decent amount of time playing in my send text message method, and we started trying to do things like SNS. We also sent, I thought we built another one that was for, I wonder if I was working on the wrong version or where I was doing my changes, but I don't see them here. Because I'm in the wrong code base. So let's close that. All right, Ice Cream, thanks for coming, man. We'll see you later if you have a time to swing by. So I'm gonna open Scavenger Hunt, And now if we look at our index file, you can see that in here we were messing with Twilio and trying to get things to work and just didn't have a lot of success. And so I'm not as worried about that because this isn't really the way I want the game to work anyway. So what I thought I'd do today is some of the core plumbing that I really need in every skill, and then we can kind of go from there. So there's a few things that I generally do in my request log function, which is this thing here. This is where I log out for myself the request envelope that comes to my skill every time. But this is also the thing, these request log interceptors are also the things that run every time your Lambda function is launched. And there's a few things that I really need to do in there, and this comes down to data. So if we go to Airtable, I'm going to refresh this. I left this open over the whole weekend. The Airtable interface tends to just eat your machine up if you leave it running for a long time. And so let's go back to the scavenger hunt data. And I have this user table. So the first thing that I thought I would do is we built some mechanisms last week to be able to gather a user's phone number and their email address. So I thought what I would do first is if they don't have a account already, right, a record in this table, then I should create a record in this table and store not only their user ID, but if I have access to their phone number and their email address, I should store those things as well so I can use them in the future. So that's the first thing that I'm going to do is basically build the interface to allow me to store this data. And so we'll need to do that here soon. So let's come back here and let's talk about what needs to happen inside my request log in order to check on a user and save the data that I have for them. So the first thing I want to do is get rid of some of these other windows. The first thing that I want to do is go grab some other code that I've written. It seems like there's always a version of something that you can use to figure some of these things out. And I feel like what would be a good example of this? Let's just go open, and I'm going to choose TKO Trivia. Now this one's a lot more involved, but it does the core things that I want, so I can kind of rip the pieces out that I really want to use. So down here, if we look at again, I keep a pretty consistent structure with my skills. So I have my request log here, and you can see that the first thing that I'm doing is logging my request envelope like we do all the time. And then what I want to do from there is this get user record. So I want to go out and get their user ID, or get their record ID, right? So that I know how to interact with their code, their data. So this is their record ID, and I need to go get this thing. Because again, I don't have a way to persist this for the user other than to just look it up based on their user ID, right? And whether I use Dynamo or anything else, this is the place that this is the thing that I'll have to do. I'll have to go look it up based on the user ID that their request envelope sends me. So what I need to do here is get their user record, and then I also can do some interesting things inside there. So let's start with this. This is the piece that I really need, and I'll take both of these so that I have that. And then we can worry about things like session attributes and stuff like that. So I'm going to dump these two lines of code here, and the first one is my user record. So this is where I'm calling out to a function called getUserRecord. I don't know why that's capitalized. And so I'll need a function called getUserRecord. So we'll put that right above here. Function, and this is definitely going to have to be an async function. GetUserRecord. And it looks like we're passing in a user ID. So I'll just use the user ID as the thing that I'm passing. And then let's take a look at what we're actually doing in getUserRecord, because this is rather complex. I need to go try and grab their record. If it doesn't exist, then I want to create one and return that instead. And that's what I'm doing here. And so we're going to take this, and I think we'll be able to chunk some of this stuff out to make it shorter. But we'll start here, and let's take a look. So the first thing that I want to do is console log getting user record. That makes sense. I want to go out and get their record. And so then I've written a filter that says if the user ID equals the user ID that I have, then get me the record. So the next thing I want to do is get the user record. And this is where I'm calling my HTTP get function. And I'm passing in which data table I want to call. So do I have that HTTP get function? I don't know if I've brought that in here yet. And that's okay that I haven't. We'll just need to get that. So I'm going to open up a different code base for this because I've recently modified this in a way that I like. And I feel like it's this one. If I come down here to the bottom, I consolidated it down into this. So this function here is the one that I want. And so if we come back here, we need a HTTP get function. And so I'm passing in the base that I want, any filter information that I want, and then the name of the table, which is data. Well, that's my default anyway. So in this case, I'm going to say my base is the database that I'm going to pass in, base data. And I don't think I have those set up yet, so we'll have to do that in my Lambda function. I have the name of my table, which is way out here to the right. This is going to be user. And then I'm checking to see if the user ID. So we need to make sure that we have, it's called user ID. So this needs to be user ID. So that we're getting this stuff right. So let's make sure we're up here. So this table is user. If there isn't a user record, then we go ahead and create one. And then if there is a user record, then grab it. So let me just indent all this stuff properly. Okay, so if there isn't a user record, create one. We'll get to that in a second. And then if there is this their first visit? I'm not using that right now, so we're not going to worry about that. Do I have it up here? Oh, you won't look? I appreciate it. That's so nice of you guys to avert your eyes. So I need to create the Lambda with my API key. So let's go do that. I have a Lambda function here. And if you were looking closely, I just snuck a API key past you there that I will probably need to go change now. But let's go look at my functions. And the one that I care about right now is scavenger hunt. And then I'm going to go to camera, and you guys can look at my pretty face for a moment while I come in here and add a few more. So I'm going to add an environment variable, and this is going to be, let's see what we call those things in my code. I call it Airtable base data. And then I need to go to Airtable, api.airtable.com. And I need to find that table. And we have a user table. Okay, so retrieve a record. I have first one I need is Airtable API key, and I think that's what I call it in my code most places too. Where do I do that? Where I actually need the API key. Do I do it in my HTTPS function? I call it Airtable API key. Okay. So let's start with that one. Airtable API key. And that is saved. And then I need Airtable base data. And that is going to be the name of the table. And I should do the other one now too. Airtable base speech. And that will be the other thing that I have where I'm going to store things like all my speech objects. Okay, so now I have base speech, and now I can save that, and we're good. And so I'm going to just close that window so I'm not exposing more data later. Okay, so we go back here. So I have my table that has user ID, phone number, email address, and I have my code here. So now let's take a closer look at this stuff. So I'm going to try and make a call out to the database in the user table, which is what I think I called it. It is. And with some filter criteria, which happens to be if user ID equals the user ID that I have. That all looks good. So if that's true, then we're going to return the found record. My result is well, that's interesting. Why am I doing that? Oh, because I was doing another thing. So I can get rid of this line for now. And then user records.records, I don't need this. This was for TKO trivia stuff, where I had to grab all their achievements. But I don't need that, so I think I just need this. Whoa. I just went to the top of the code. Okay, so we need to get rid of this line. Where did my function go? User record. Oh, this is the thing I was trying to get rid of. And so user record is the thing that I grabbed, and now I'm just returning the first record from that list, which there should only ever be one record because I would never have more than one of the same user ID in the database. The database enforces that rule, in fact, so that's good. Okay, so then if I don't have one, then I'm going to create a new user record, and this is where I need to call out and say, hey, I want you to create a new user record. And so in the table user, I want to create a user ID that is the user ID I received, and I don't have current level or point total, but I will potentially, no, I don't have that stuff yet. So we'll just create the user ID, and then I have a function that I don't really care about very much. I just want to fire and forget and get that record created. But I do need to do that because what I really want to do is save it to the session variables. So what am I doing here? If I return the record, let's see what I was thinking. Get user record. What do I do at the top when I get their user record? Oh no, it's not there. It's in here somewhere. Request log. Get user record is where I'm bringing back the record and returning it. And then I'll do that stuff in the request log. I'll save it to the session attributes and everything. Okay. So this is doing what it needs to do. It's going out and getting the record that exists and returning that to me. Or it's resolving the record that I did get and returning that to me once I've created it. So let's give that a run. I'm sure there's errors in there, but let's Let's push that code up and see what we get. Oh. Lambda update failed because I don't have their latest revision ID. Well, then I will use the force. Come on. You can do it. There we go. Okay, so our code has been pushed. So let's just see what happens when I say, Alexa, open scavenger hunt. Yeah, there was a 0% chance that was going to work on the first try.
Launch request.
Alexa, stop. Alexa, stop.
There was a problem communicating with the requested skill.
Do you think? HTTPS. Oh, because I don't have... Yeah, so it's like include files and stuff. That's where I'm going to run into my trouble. I don't have Airtable listed here. So let's do const HTTPS equals require HTTPS and const... What do I normally do? Is it just Airtable capital? It is, okay. Airtable equals require Airtable. And then I need to do some npm magic. That all looks good, okay. So let's do cd lambda custom. And in here we're going to do npm install let's do npm install airtable -s. And then we'll do npm install https -s. I will tell you, like, I was not a big command line person. I was not a package manager person. But they really, like, when it works, man, it's so easy. And so now I can go look at my package.json and I can see that it added HTTPS, it added Airtable, it even alphabetizes them for me. I mean, it's just nice. Okay, so that's good. That's good. Let's give another deploy and see what happens. Oh my goodness, Ryan, good morning. Utah Gimme 2 is here. I had a nice chat with him on Friday afternoon about a variety of things. But the guy's got me envious. He showed me a picture. He's got basically a small driving range on the side of his house. He's got a golf net and a mat, and he's even got a device that keeps track of the swing speed and all sorts of stuff. Dude, it was awesome. I was super impressed. We talked about exercise. We talked about families. It was good. Always good to catch up with friends. All right, code is pushed. Let's see. Alexa, open scavenger hunt. Still an error. What a surprise. Alexa, stop.
There was a problem communicating with the requested skill.
I can't believe that you would say that to me. An API key. Is this the one I just did? An API is required to connect to Airtable. Okay, so in get user record line 204, it seems to think that I'm not giving it an API key. Oh, because it's Airtable key and I called it API key. That might be why. So at least it was doing the right logic, right? It was trying to create a new record, but I had screwed up my naming. We definitely talked, but you were excited, man. It was good to catch up and talk about stuff, and you had lots to share. I'm a fantastic listener. For those of you that don't know, I actually have a degree in psychology. That was my original plan 20 whatever years ago, and I have found that in general, people, when I talk with people, they tell me things they wouldn't tell other people. They tend to open up and have um, meaningful conversations at me sometimes, and that's totally fine. I enjoy it. I consider myself like an observer. I love to just listen in and hear what you have to say and offer my insights when I can. But it's just cool to see people excited and passionate about stuff, and Ryan certainly was. All right, so I think we've got our code pushed again. Alexa, open scavenger hunt.
Welcome to the scavenger
Boom!
hunt. I've sent an image to your Alexa app for the first puzzle. Good luck. What is your answer?
Alexa, stop. So you can see in
Goodbye.
here that I have my unique user ID for my specific user account. And so now I have this phone number and email address thing, um, which I guess I could try and get it then. Maybe that's the right play. Is the rules around using the customer data, the customer profile API, are that I have to call every time and I have to get the information that I can get, and if I can't get it, then I can't use it. So it feels like if I'm going to do this first call, I'm going to do this before the skill even runs. I could do my customer API call stuff in there and populate this at the same time. Let's give that a roll. So I have somewhere, let's see, get mobile number. So it's either going to return mobile number or it's going to return undefined. Okay, but I have to pass in handler input to be able to do that because it needs the API key and all that stuff. So that seems like we could do that. So in get user record, before we make any other calls, I think we want to do that. So let's do var mobile number equals get, what did I call it? Get mobile number. But I need handler input in here to be able to do that. I guess I could just pass in the user's API key. Would I be able to do that even? No, because this is all built on top of it, so I need to pass in handler input. All right. So get user record is now handler input and then user ID, which means down here, this needs to be, well, then I'll just pass in handler input and we'll get this. Handler input. So this will work well too. So get user record now, I just pass handler input, and then over here I can say var user ID equals handler input user ID. I just grab it on the other side, and then I still only have to pass one parameter, and it's generic. And that means then that I can call get mobile number with my handler input. And then I was going to build a function like this for phone number too. Or for, I'm sorry, for email address. But I wonder if I could just get... No, because then I have to create like some custom object to return it. Let's just do this. Get email address. Get profile. I'm going to guess this is email address. I wonder if it knows. Dot get email address. Boom. IntelliSense for the win. We'll do email address here, just so I'm logging this stuff for right now. I love to go back and release all these at some point. And then this is going to be not mobile number. This is going to be email address. And this will be email address, and this will be email address. And then I can return undefined if any of that stuff. Okay. So now I have a get mobile number and a get email address. And in my get user record, this is where I need to get that email address also. All right. Now the thing that I need to do is if I have those values, I think this will work just fine. I can just do this. I can remember what my columns are called, phone number and email address. I should change this. Okay, so in here, I'm going to have mobile number. And this is going to be mobile number. And I think this will work because I receive undefined values back when fields don't exist, when fields don't have data. So I feel like giving it undefined as a value is probably okay, which is what I'll get back if I don't have permission for this. And then email address will be email address, like so. All right, so now I'm going to go into my database. I'm going to delete the record for me. Delete record. And let's give this a run where we're creating a new user for the first time. So by creating this with a new user for the first time, I should have a new record appear, and I should have their mobile number and email address appear, assuming they've given me those permissions. If they haven't given me permission, then I'll get undefined, and that should be what's recorded here. Code done? Wow, this is taking a little while, but you know what? We just added those two dependencies, and I think the Airtable library isn't small. Okay, Alexa, open scavenger hunt.
There was a problem with the requested skills response.
Really? What is the problem with the requested skills response? I should be able to say that. Mobile number cannot accept the provided value. Because it's an object? Okay, so I've got the phone number, and I forgot that it breaks it into two pieces, and I really need the whole thing. So okay, so mobile number equals mobile number dot country code. mobile number dot phone number. Let's see if that gets us what we want. In the meantime, I'll go delete that record again. Oh, I never inserted it because I tried to do something dumb. Okay, so let's see. Let's see if we can get there. I feel like we're close, and on the mobile number transform I just did there should solve my problem. I didn't do like a toString on here. I probably should, but hopefully just adding that empty string should do it for me. Alexa, open scavenger hunt.
There was a problem with the requested skills response.
Now what, lady? Probably the email one. Invalid value for the column. What are we doing here? So mobile number. Let's see what we get this time. I just have to log it out. I guess we'll do JSON.stringify on this. I don't really see what I'm doing wrong at this point. I just need to inspect mobile number and see what is wrong with it. What is the data type that I have for mobile number? Is it something weird? No, it's a string. Single line of text. That's exactly what I want it to be. Okay. Alexa, open scavenger hunt.
There was a problem with the requested skills response.
It also appears that get email address is not a function. What is it then, if it's not that? Get profile email? Are you kidding me? Okay. Get profile email. Not email address. Okay. That's fixed. I don't know if TradeLast. That's a really good question. I don't know if I can insert undefined directly into a record. I'm hoping that I can, but I don't know. We'll see. But they shouldn't be undefined. I should have a number and a value for each one. So I have the number there. I also don't see the thing that I thought I was logging. So I fixed the email address thing. Let's fix that at least and burn through some of these errors before we get too deep into this. I feel like it's a good sign that we're on the email issue now, but I don't know for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I know the new user record. I think it's weird that that's undefined, but I don't. I think it's because I'm not able to create the record because email address is a thing. So we'll see here in a second. Alexa, open scavenger hunt.
There was a problem with the requested skills response.
Okay. Let's take a look. Mobile number string is undefined, undefined. But then later, it's phone number. Oh, Jeff, what are you doing? Let's get rid of those. Another thing that I may not be doing is awaiting these. I think that's part of my issue. I'm blowing right past what I need to do. So let's add those fixes and see if that helps. My guess is trade last. That's why I'm getting the undefines in my logging, is because I wasn't awaiting my calls, and so it was just blowing right past what I wanted to do. Without those awaits, it'll just run forward, and that would be why I also am unable to put values in there. I don't know. We'll see. Lots of learning. This is good learning for me. I don't know if you guys are getting anything out of this, but I'm figuring this stuff out a little better each time I do it. Alexa, open scavenger hunt.
Welcome to the scavenger hunt. I've sent an image to your Alexa app for the first puzzle. Good luck. What is your answer?
Stop.
Goodbye.
Okay, so I got my mobile number stored. I don't know if I got my email address stored, though. Did the logs say that I don't have permission to email address? Which is fine if that's the case. Access denied for the email address. That's perfect. So I wasn't able to get the email address, which is okay. I wish they would tell me which service I was calling, but that's neither here nor there. And so, okay, so there's one more thing I want to do, which is down here, my HTTPS function, wherever that thing went. There's a full path. I want to get rid of that. Okay, so it looks like we're good. What I'm seeing so far now is that I'm able to try and get their mobile number, try to get their email address, and if I don't have permission, then whatever I'm inserting is working because this value is undefined as far as it's concerned. So now I want to go turn the permissions for that on. So let's go to alexa.amazon.com.
.com is usually defined as a company that operates its business
Alexa,
primarily on.
Stop. What? Settings. I don't have email address granted, so let's go change that. And if I turn on email address, come back here and delete my record because I'm not doing this for new ones. Delete record. Alexa, open scavenger hunt.
Welcome to the scavenger
Nice.
hunt. I've sent an image to your Alexa app for the first puzzle. Good luck. What is your answer?
Stop. Okay.
Goodbye.
So that's pretty cool. So I now have, at least for the new record, for a new user, I'm calling out and I'm getting their mobile number and their email address. Now let's see what happens. I need to write a little more code because we need to handle these situations, right? Where I'm making that same call. I have that same data, but I need to update their record so that I'm always making a fresh call and always working off of fresh data. So to do that, I can go to, I want to make sure I'm being careful here, Airtable API. My API key is not showing. That's good. Okay, so we can come back here. And in here we have our data table. And for this I have my user table. And I want to update a record. So the code for that looks a lot like this, where my API key fits here. But the chunk that I really need is this update line. We'll take that and run back over here. And this is where I'm going to have to update the record Yeah, so I have my user record. I know what their record ID is. So in here, we're going to do this stuff. Take this, and then this piece goes inside that. That's okay for now. So my base is user. The ID is going to be the ID that I grabbed. And so now we want to look at what do my records really look like when I get them. And so let's just go to my most recent call. And we said new user record. This is the record that I returned. And what I care about is the record ID. Do I see that anywhere else? Let's go with .fields.record ID. So the thing that I wanted was this. .fields.record ID. Okay. So this is actually going to become I don't think I need any of that. This piece here is that .fields.record ID. Let's see if we can clean this up a little bit. Okay, so we're just going to do that all as one line. if there's an error, console log the error, return. Otherwise, I want to just resolve records 0. And I don't need this then. I think that'll do what I want. I think we're... oh, that's a really good question, TradeLast. So what I'm doing here is I have... so the promise takes two things. It takes my my command, my update command, and then the second thing it takes is the callback function. This is what should happen after my call has come in. I know it's kind of weird how I've formatted this. This needs to be bumped out a little bit. But that's ultimately what's happening is I have this... I've screwed something up too. Open, open. I think this needs to go here. Or maybe I just needed two of them. There we go. So I hope that that answers the question, though. So a promise takes the call that I want to make, which is this chunk here. And then the second thing is the callback function that should happen when the results come back. In the update... Oh, that's a mistake. That's all that is. Because they had other things. So that one was just a mistake. Thank you, TradeLast. That's just a good catch. Okay, so base user. So this should update my record, but the thing that I want to do, and I may have screwed this up. So if I look at their call again. Maybe I needed all this. That can't be right? I have to have some issues. So I'm not updating the user ID. I don't need that. But I am updating the fields. And so this is going to be the value that I have up there, mobile number. And this is going to be email address. The ID should still be the thing that I think it is, which is user record records fields record ID. I guess that's how they... How much have I screwed this up now? Let's see. Let's go back. Take all three of these and just copy them so that I have them, but we're going to go back a little bit to this. Do it like that. And then I don't need all the brackets and stuff. I can just take this. And this becomes this line here, like so, and then I haven't broken anything. So this again, because I like writing the same code over and over, user record dot records dot fields dot record ID, and this goes away. I'm not updating their user ID, and this becomes mobile number, and this becomes email address. Okay, I feel much better about that chunk now, and so now I'm basically updating my record every single time also. This feels like a lot of overhead, but if I'm going to be communicating with my users via text and email, probably want to make sure this is right and then I actually have the permissions I want. What's nice about the update record is it still passes me back the whole user record so that I don't have to like send an update command and then send a select command basically. So let's do it twice because I want to make sure I didn't break anything. So let's delete this record. Try again. Alexa, open scavenger hunt.
Welcome to the scavenger hunt. I've sent an image to your Alexa app for the first puzzle. Good luck. What is your answer?
Stop.
There was a problem communicating with the requested skill.
Okay, so going back to my permissions, I'm going to turn off email address. It's off. I have my data here. Let's see what happens now. Alexa, open scavenger hunt. All right. Alexa, stop.
There was a problem communicating with the requested skill.
I don't understand what that means. I haven't heard that error message before, but we have base is not defined, I promise. Alexa, let's look at 241. Oh, yeah, because you're totally right. I didn't finish bringing the rest of the code over that I needed. So this goes here. And this becomes this instead. That's an easy fix. I like easy fixes. If you don't refer to the API that you want to call, it's hard to call it. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. It's got to be fun watching me just beat my head against a wall for hours at a time. All right, almost there. And I again want to test both states. Let me fix my permissions too, because I want it to come in the first time. Okay, we're going to turn on email address. That's good. Alexa, open scavenger hunt.
Welcome to the scavenger
Nice.
hunt. I've sent an image to your Alexa app for the first puzzle. Good luck. What is your answer?
Alexa, stop.
Goodbye.
Alexa, open scavenger hunt.
Welcome to the scavenger hunt. I've sent an image to your Alexa app for the first puzzle. Good luck. What is your answer?
Stop.
Goodbye.
Well, that's not exactly what I was expecting. Let's see what we did. New user record. Returning found user record. I was unable to get the email address. So doesn't that mean that if I, in here, try to update the email address, It feels like the email address shouldn't be updated or should be changed. Why do you think that I am not getting an update on my email address? I mean, I don't even know that that call actually really happened. Well, here, let's try. What if I just do this? Undefined. Since that's a value I would expect anyway, let's just hard code it in and see what that does. I mean, it should erase my email address from the data, which is kind of what I want it to do. If the user didn't give me permission to use their email address, I shouldn't store it. And they can revoke it at any time, as we've demonstrated. Yeah, so let's do Alexa, open scavenger hunt.
Welcome to the scavenger hunt. I've sent an image to your Alexa app for the
Alexa,
first puzzle.
stop.
Goodbye.
I don't have the confidence right now that this is even happening. So we'll see if the mobile number actually changes. I don't seem to be getting an error. What could the issue be here? Alexa, open scavenger hunt.
Welcome to the scavenger hunt. I've sent an image to your Alexa app for the first puzzle. Good luck. What is your answer?
Stop.
Goodbye.
Okay. Okay. So the update is happening, but if I pass nothing, it doesn't update the email address. I wonder if I could do this by if email address equals undefined, email address equals empty string. All right, let's see if that works. Let's see what we get out of that. Because I feel like this time I'll have to do the same thing for mobile number. Obviously, if it's undefined, I would need to set that to empty string also. But if this works, then I can just solve it that way. I don't know. How else we solve this? Alexa, open scavenger hunt.
Welcome to the scavenger hunt.
Okay.
I've sent an image to your Alexa app for the first puzzle. Good luck. What is your answer?
Stop.
Goodbye.
And then if I go back and change my permissions, Well, actually, I can see the record that came back. Let's go look at the record and see what it says for email address. If it even comes back. Because if it's empty... That is exactly what I would expect to see. I don't have their email address, so it doesn't even return the field to me. This is how Airtable works. It doesn't pass me all of the fields. It only passes me the fields with data in them. And by putting that empty string in there, that made it think it was empty, which is fine. That's exactly the behavior that I want. So we'll do the same thing for mobile number. If mobile number is undefined, then we'll set the value to empty string. Okay, this is just playing with data, right? Sometimes we have to understand our data source and how they work, and this does what I need it to do. So I can't tell it to set it to undefined, but I can set it to empty string, which treats it like undefined. All right, so now we are able to, every time the user comes in, this is literally every time they talk to the skill, we can call the customer profile API. We can get their email address and their phone number, and we can store those as part of their user record. If they haven't granted us permission, then we automatically set their value to be undefined. And so the last thing that I need to check is if I don't have permission as a new user, I think I can do that all on this side. If we take this whole record and we set our permissions so that email address is not granted, what does this look like when we do it now? Alexa, open scavenger hunt.
Welcome to the scavenger hunt. I've sent an image to your Alexa app for the first puzzle.
That still works
Good luck.
great.
What is your answer?
Stop.
Goodbye.
Oh, that's also interesting. It did treat it as an update to the field. But when I get that record back, this was my stop intent, right? Stop intent, getting user record, returning found user record, and in here, I just have mobile number. So whatever, I mean, however that needs to work is fine. I don't think I'm doing anything that's too gross, but I do feel like that's a decent chunk of work. Then what I can do is where I call in my request log, I'm just doing this get user record. So now we have an entire function that calls the database, creates a user record if it doesn't exist. If it does exist, it just retrieves it, but only after updating it with the permissions that I have for the user. So this is the one line that I really need, which is fantastic. And then what I want to do is save that user data to my session. And that's so that I can use it within the skill without having to make the call again. And so to do this, I'm going to do this piece here, which is where's my request log? I'm going to get a reference to session attributes, and I'm going to grab those fields and save them. So I like to put the reference to session attributes first, just so that I can use it whenever I want. Then I get my user record, and then in here I can say session attributes.user equals user record.fields. And what we should then see in our subsequent call is all of the data that we need. So let's push that up, because that should work. And then we can look at the session attributes that we're actually storing. And I'll use the testing tool for this on screen instead of just talking to the device. So whenever this is ready, I feel like I made some progress here. That was a good one, to be able to get that entire user record thing working. in the way that we need it to, and to be able to update the record every single time that we fire up the skill. I'm accomplishing the requirements, although I didn't save my code. I'm accomplishing the requirements that are set forward when we want to be able to talk to the user profile API. Is I have to make the call every time. I have to use the data that's there. But that doesn't mean that I can't persist it. It doesn't mean that I can't use it for other things. What I wouldn't be able to do, though, is create like a... I couldn't like create a website and have the user's record automatically created or something like that. All right, let's see if this works, and then we can see what it looks like in this session. So I'll come here, and we'll go into Scavenger Hunt and take a look at it and see what we can do to fix this. Also, it should be mentioned for those of you that watch regularly, the light bulb that's behind me, you can kind of see this lamp that's sitting here that's glowing behind me. You are able to change the color of this. You can just say, ask Jeff Blankenburg to change the lamp to red, and it'll work. And we had some issues with that on Friday. I have since fixed all of those issues, and now not only does it work in the United States the way that I expect it to, but it also works in India and Canada and the other English-speaking locales. So, if you're in one of those other English-speaking locales like India, I'd love for you to give it a try and let me know if you're having any issues. In the United States, I also added a new feature that's only available right now in the United States that I'm trying out, is the idea that you might want to change it to multiple colors. So you could say things like, Alexa, ask Jeff Blankenburg to change the lamp to red and yellow. There's red.
The lamp will now cycle
yellow
through red and yellow.
And it'll
Tune
actually...
into twitch.tv/Jeff Blankenburg to see it change live on air.
Alexa,
what else do you want to know about? Bye for now.
So that's a cool feature where I'm basically trying to catch multiple colors at the same time. I haven't deployed that anywhere else yet, but the idea that you might want to give it more than one color is kind of fun. And you saw it transition behind me to red and then yellow. And we're still on yellow now. So if you want to play with the light while we're streaming here, you're welcome to. But I'm going to keep moving forward on this. So the thing that I wanted to do was go to test. And I want to see what open scavenger hunt looks like.
Welcome to the scavenger hunt. I've sent an image to your Alexa app for the first puzzle. Good luck. What is your answer? Help message.
This is what I wanted to see. So I have my session attributes, and in here I have my user node, and in there I have the records that I've stored. So the user ID isn't really something I need, but it doesn't hurt me to just have it in there with everything else. Then I have my mobile number, and then I have their record ID, which means that as I'm doing everything else in the game, in my session I will have their record ID. I wanted to see if I quit and I just open the skill again, does it
Welcome to the scavenger hunt. I've
have that?
sent an image to
No,
your
it doesn't.
Alexa app for the first puzzle. Good luck. What is your answer?
So I was hoping, because I do this in the request log, I was hoping that maybe it would show up initially in my session, but it appears it does not. And so that's okay. The trick is going to be, it's just not written into this, but I will have it in my session as of the first invocation, because it's stored in my session immediately right here. And so I have that session data even on the first go. This is one of those things that I run into that's kind of odd when we talk about dynamic slots, dynamic entities, is that I have to send a response first before it exists. And so if someone says open the skill, then cool, on their response I'm going to send that dynamic entity and everything's going to work the rest of the way. But if they do something like this, right? Where it used to say, ask Jeff Blankenburg to change the lamp to blue. If I want to dynamically update the list of colors, um, and they ask for an odd color that is part of the dynamic entities but is not part of the static slot, it won't work because I have to respond to them once before I can use those dynamic entities. But for the session stuff, I'm all set. So my request log function is a little bit longer now. I'm getting a user record and I'm saving it to session, but it's all working. And I have the ability to get their email address and their phone number. I think that's good for now. I think that as I grow this game and as I think about how more of this stuff is going to work, I am going to want to get some of those other permissions. We saw a list of them here. We have things like device address. This is a physical geolocation of where their device is. We have access to write to their lists and reminders and location services and timers. So I'm going to ask for all of those things in this skill because those are more puzzle surfaces, places I can mess with people and write data and whatever. But I haven't built any of that stuff now, and I don't need it yet. So I haven't bothered to build anything for it. So we have about a half an hour left. What I'd like to do next is talk about speech. This is easier if it's done at the beginning. And now that I've hooked up all the Airtable stuff, this is pretty easy to do. But this will help me understand what I want to do with my my puzzles too, because I need a specific. I'm just going to stand. I need a specific structure for how these puzzles are going to be stored. So I'm going to come over to my table. I have a puzzle table. And I don't really have anything for it yet, but this is always going to be record ID because I need a unique identifier for each one. Nope, I got to set it to the formula that equals record ID. Perfect. And then I'm going to need a date field. I'm already in the puzzle table. I can just say date. And this is just going to be a date field. I don't need a time. I say that and I know I'll burn myself on it. We'll do a friendly date. Yeah, I'm going to have to break this down like a relational database too, I think. Is that what I want to do? I was wondering if like I have a record ID and then I have a date that is the puzzle, and then I have another table that's like puzzle items. That would be the 5 things. Yeah, that's probably right. So let's say my first puzzle is going to be April 11th. We know that's not really true, but so we have a puzzle called April 11th, and then I don't need this field right now. I may need something later, but we have April 11th, 2020. And this one will be the 18th, and this one will be the 25th. So each one of these is now we should call this game. That's brilliant, Jeff. So let's get rid of this table. We'll call this game. A game is an all-encompassing set of puzzles. And then we will duplicate this table. Don't want the records. And this is going to become puzzle. And so this has a record ID automatically. I don't need a date anymore, but I need an order. And this will just be an integer. So number, wherever that is. Number, integer, save. And so I would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Delete record. I also want to join this to a specific game, right? So I need a game field, We're going to link this to another record, game. You can't put it in multiple puzzles, so that's fine. When I choose game now, I can select from a list of records, and I can see the dates at least, so that's enough for me. But I will probably want a lookup field, which is game date. And this will be a lookup. And I want to look in the game table and I want to choose date. This is a really nice feature of Airtable as well because it allows me to bring this stuff in pretty easily so that I can see this. But what's also nice about this is that when I receive my data, when I actually get that payload, it treats this as its own field. And so I'll actually receive this data. So I not only have this like non-meaningful unique identifier for game, but I also have the game date. So I know what date the thing should be for if I want to pull those records out somehow. So the other things that I need in here, I'm probably going to need voice response. I'm probably going to need image, large image. This is attachments in here. Actually, I can just do image because they create thumbnails for me automatically. So we can take our, like I'll bring this file in that I had that we created before. So if I come into here and I look at GitHub and I look at scavenger hunt, I look at art, game 1, puzzle 1, 1200 by 800. I can upload that directly into the database. What it does is it stores the file in another place. But what I get out of this is some interesting data. So once my image is in there, it'll actually show me a little thumbnail of it. It might be still working on creating the other variations. But if we come over here and I look at my list records, I want the puzzle table. Do I have only empty records in there right now? In the puzzle, oh, maybe I just need to refresh this. Because I kind of move those things around. So list records, no, fields, yeah. So when you look at what you get for the file name, the image, you can see that it does all of this for me. And so it has taken my original file and it's posted it up to the Airtable servers, which means I don't have to worry about hosting and stuff like that. I have a URL that I can grab and use. So if I take that URL, that image exists on the internet now, which is really cool. But it also gives me a small and large thumbnail. The small is really small, right? Like 54 by 36, but the large is pretty decently sized for smaller devices. So it's kind of nice that they give me all that. And then they have full, which is 3000 by 3000. I don't know what that is. Let's take a look at what that thing looks like. Okay, so let's go back here and see what their little guy looks like. If I take this one, small URL, yeah, see it's a little tiny thumbnail, but I think for what we're doing, if I come into the medium, the large one, this is the 768 by 512 one. That's a perfectly reasonable image, and they do all the resizing for me. They do all the storage for me, the hosting. It's kind of nice to be able to just throw this stuff into your data table and have it work the way you want it to. So that's what I get by putting my image in here. I'm going to have a voice response. I'm also going to have things like card title. Because if I look at the stuff that I've already built, if we just look at the code, I have what I'm going to say. I have with standard card. This is the title of the card. This is the body of the card. And then this is the two images that I'm passing in. So as I'm doing this for real in the future, what I would do is say, oh, okay, you're ready for a puzzle. Here's how I send you the puzzle. And I would have to go grab that puzzle record from the database and send it to you somehow. So that is more or less the structures that I have here. I would also need let's see if we do, this will be card response. See, I always end up with this every single time no matter what. And I will also have screen response. And the screen response will be the data, the stuff that I want to put on the screen if they have a device with a screen. Long text, save. I think maybe we can just call this title. Save, and I'm going to bring it over here. So now I have a set of records that are the order of the puzzles, the game that they're a part of, the date from that game, but that's filled in automatically. So let me just fill all these in the same way. I have a title for the puzzle. I have a voice response, card response, screen response, the three different places that I might respond to a user. And then I have an image that I'm going to use for the puzzle that I may or may not actually use, right? I don't imagine every puzzle is going to have an image. The other thing that I'll need, of course, is the correct answer. What is the answer? Is that how I want to do that? So I'll need answer, but I'll also need, like, synonyms. Because if I'm going to do dynamic entities to handle this, I need to be flexible. If I need them to say, what are the four colors of the Microsoft logo, and it's red, yellow, green, blue, then I need them to also be able to say red, blue, yellow, green, and red, green, yellow, blue, and whatever other orders they may have, and that's what the synonyms will be. So we'll save that. Those will be for dynamic entities. But the answer is the thing that I need to make sure they say. Yeah. Okay. I think that's going to work. This is a decent structure for data. The other thing that I'll need to do is have an empty table that is user puzzle. I don't know that I need to have a user game record, because if I have any user puzzle record, then I know what game they played. So this is going to be record ID. And this will be my formula for record ID. It's always good to have a unique identifier for every field. Then this one will be user. And this is where I'm going to link to another record. I'm going to link to the user table. And will not be linking to multiple records. I don't know why they offer that. It never actually does anything. But that's fine. So I'm going to link to a user. I'm going to link to a puzzle. Right, and this will be the puzzle table. And then probably a completed, which is just a checkbox. Date completed. I don't know if I need both of those, but this will be a created time. so I can see when that record was created, because that will be when they have completed the puzzle. It's always good to, I mean, that timestamp is automatically created, but it's nice to be able to see it. What else do I need to see or say? It might be nice to see what they said was the answer, like their actual slot value. I could do an answer field. And that'll just be the thing that they said, the answer that they gave. I don't know that I need any other data right now. But we're now getting to the point where we can play with speech too. So I have my data table, but I also have my speech table, which I don't think I've really used yet. So I always have a welcome, and I always have a goodbye. Actually, I should just build the structure for this too first. So this is going to be record ID like everything else. And then another thing that I like to do is an is disabled checkbox. And then I can always check against that. Another thing that I'll need all those tables. I need create empty table. We'll call this one locale. And then I have language, and I have country. How do I do that in other places, like this one? Language. Delete that field, delete this field. That's my language table. And then for country, I have my list of countries that Alexa supports. And this can go in here in country. And then finally, we have locale, which is how I do my internationalization. And this is the piece where I will take these three and copy them, but I need to set up the other one first. So this needs to be what order were those in? Language country. Okay. So in here, I need language. And this needs to be a link to another record from the language table. And this needs to be country. And this needs to be a link to the record in the country table. And then I should be able to do this. Boom. And now I have all my locales. And now in my tables like this, I can say locale, and I can choose to link to another record in the locale table. And I can have multiple of those, as we learned when we were working on my Jeff Blankenburg skill. Okay, so is disabled is there, locale is there, and then I think the other stuff that I do for a lot of my speech is like voice response. And that's it? Just voice response? Yeah, okay. So this will be voice response. Long text. Save. And then I can get rid of all those records because I don't need them. Then I can take this thing, and this is kind of nice. Once you have one of them, you can duplicate the table. We'll call this one goodbye. And then I just continue building tables like this that are all the same structure, but that have all the same kind of fields. What this gives me is the ability to build queries against this to be able to make a function that just says get random speech, and I can get speech from the welcome or the goodbye or whatever, and it always pulls the one that I want. So if I look at my locales, how many English locales are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, cool, because that's what I built for my other skill. So, all right, so we have our speech stuff starting to come together. Let's move a few pieces out. So if we go back to my code, I have welcome to the scavenger hunt. So let's put that in as a welcome. I need to say that my locale is ENUS. Let's stretch this out a little bit. So now I need to go get that value, and to do that, I have to write a little code. So what I normally do is something like get random speech, var welcome. This is exactly what I want to do here. And so I will leave my commented stuff there, but var welcome equals get random speech. And so I need the get random speech function, which I use all the time. It's pretty simple, but it's just this. But it's what calls out to my database and gets what I need. So I'll walk through the lines of this. Okay, so get random speech, I'm passing in the table and the locale that I want. You can see that I'm using find. So this is the fix that I made the other day, where I'm actually checking to make sure, is the locale in the field that we're talking about? Then I'm getting the list of records that match, and I'm randomly getting one, which is what get random item is. So I need these other get random functions to go with this. Randomization is a big part of my strategy for speech generation. Add random speech is a real key to a lot of the things that I do, and then all I'm doing is pulling out that voice response field from the records that I have, and I'm making sure that it's not disabled. So if I ever disable one, it's automatically pulled out of rotation. But I have all of that. I have get random speech built. I have my HTTP get function. All of that looks great. So I should be able to say, let's see if we can get this rolling. I have my welcome now. So I'm just going to say welcome. Oh, there we go. And that should fit right in there. Oh, another field that I will need is one that I just haven't come up with a better name for it, but I call it action query. And this is the one that is those follow-up questions at the end, like, well, what do you want to do now? And so we'll take this one, put it here, maybe. And so I have a welcome message. We can check and make sure that this is working first by just saying, well, let's get the code up there, and then we can play a little with our data. But random speech is, I think it's imperative to building a good skill, because you don't want people to hear the same things over and over. And hard coding your speech into your code makes it hard for anyone else to change it. So by extracting this stuff and throwing it into a table, Airtable or wherever, it doesn't really matter. It's whatever you're comfortable with. But by throwing it into a table, it makes it really easy to go back and add more things or add more comments or whatever it might be. Okay, Alexa, open scavenger hunt.
Your next 4 events are...
Alexa, stop. That's not what I said.
The skill. Blinkist can help you with that.
Alexa,
Did you want to...
open scavenger hunt. Well, Alexa, stop.
Goodbye.
You guys seem to like that alarm, so I'm glad I've got that going for you. Why don't I see an error? Did I get in too early? Locale is not defined. Well, that makes sense because I didn't define it. Yeah, Blinkist, I don't know how that exactly works, but if I just say Alexa, stop.
The skill, Blinkist can help you with that. Did you want to enable it?
Quit. I don't know why that happens, but if I say stop to the core Alexa engine, it recommends a skill to me that can stop. I don't really know why it does that. So the thing that I was trying to get, what was the error? Locale. I need to get locale. So anywhere that I'm doing this, I need to get my locale. So that should be the first thing that I do. And the other thing I should do is start bringing some comments in so that I'm logging the intents that I'm hitting. I just don't, Tradeless, that's one of those things that I wonder if they know that's happening, because that can't be right. That can't be an intended behavior, is for me to say stop and have it like tell me some random skill. I don't know, that just feels weird to me. Okay, I have locale in there now. So what I want to do is see that it worked, and then I want to add some more welcome messages so we can see them randomly select from them. And then that'll probably call a day for us. Come on, code. Let's go. Here's something I'd like to see in the AWS API SDK, is when I upload my code, I would love it to only push my code and not all of the packages and everything again. I'd love it to be like, oh, that stuff's already there. Never mind, I won't push this stuff. But I'm pushing the whole thing every time. Okay, Alexa, open scavenger hunt.
Okay, here's Xbox.
Alexa,
Sorry.
stop. Alexa, open scavenger hunt.
Welcome to the scavenger hunt. I've sent an image to your Alexa app for the first puzzle. Good luck. What is your answer?
Stop.
Goodbye.
Okay, so I've added another one. It's random. Again, it's going to randomly pick one, but it's interesting to see if it'll pick that up. Alexa, open scavenger hunt.
This is Jeff Blankenburg scavenger hunt.
Alexa,
I've sent
stop.
an image to your Alexa app for the first puzzle.
Alexa,
Good luck.
stop.
Goodbye.
Alexa, open scavenger hunt.
This is Jeff Blankenburg scavenger hunt. I've
Alexa,
sent an image to your Alexa app for
Alexa.
the first puzzle.
stop.
Goodbye.
Alexa, open scavenger hunt.
Welcome to the scavenger hunt.
Cool.
I've sent an image to your Alexa app for the first puzzle.
Alexa,
Good luck.
stop.
Goodbye.
Okay, so you can see that we pretty easily got our welcome speech now, and it's randomly picking one of these each time that we come in. Now, in a perfect world, I'll have 30 of these, right? And so it always sounds a little different, a little new. One of the other things that I'll probably do is want to add sound effects, and I can add those things as well. There's a pretty easy way to just add SSML sound effects. I could add them directly to the beginning of the voice response, or I could have another place where I go get a sound effect that is my welcome message or goodbye message or whatever. But for my goodbye messages, I don't have anything in here yet, so I'm going to do a goodbye. I didn't need that enter. And for locale, again, if I don't put a locale, it won't find it, so I have to be very specific about what my locales are. And that's my goodbye message. So if I go to my code, I can go to my, let's just find the word goodbye. Nope. How about here? Oh, it's right here. So what I can do now is say, here's my locale. No, here's my logging. And then where was the locale stuff that I had? I just basically need these 2 lines. Cancel and stop intent handler. And then instead of speak output being goodbye, I can say speak output equals goodbye. And by doing that, I can make sure that I have an appropriate goodbye response every time that the user leaves. And I have this table that I've created that is all sorts of nonsensical goodbyes. I don't know that I'll use it for this skill, but I could easily dump them into that table now and it would just start working. So let's make sure that she still says goodbye and that I didn't break anything. That's always a worthwhile test. But assuming that this works, I think we're done for the day. We've made some good progress. We talked about board games and Board Game Arena and all the cool stuff we can build there and how I'm probably going to try that. We also built an entire user creation model. So now every time the skill gets opened, I check and see, does the user exist? And if they do, great, get their record. And if they don't exist, then create them and get their record. And then we were able to extract a bunch of speech stuff as well. So I think it was a very productive day today compared to Friday where I just floundered, really struggled. So let's take a look at what the goodbye sounds like. Alexa, open scavenger hunt.
There was a problem with the requested skills response.
Oh, I already know what it is. We're gonna fix this blind. Async. I always forget that. I almost need to just hard code that on because it doesn't hurt to have it. But man, if you don't have it and you need it, broken. If this works, this will be our last code commit today. Alexa, open scavenger hunt.
This is Jeff Blankenburg Scavenger Hunt. I've sent an image to your Alexa app for the first puzzle.
Alexa,
Good luck.
stop.
Goodbye.
Nice. Okay, so she was able to say the goodbye that I passed in. So TradeLast, thanks for tuning in, and the rest of you for watching if you didn't comment. I agree. I think that watching other people code is interesting. I don't claim to be an expert by any means, but I'm good enough, and I'm able to figure this stuff out. And to be able to stay focused and have that discipline, I think is great. So thank you for that, TradeLast. I appreciate it. All right, so we've made good progress. There's lots more to go in building this game. But we have to get through things like user management and speech generation and stuff like that before we can get there. And so what I ultimately want to do, and I haven't written any logic really for this game at all, is to give myself a template that I can use every time I build a skill, because I tend to do the same kinds of things like user management over and over and over. And so it would be nice to have a way for that to really be built in and not have to rebuild this every time that I go. So I guess I will see you guys on Wednesday. Between now and then, I have another show on the Amazon Alexa channel called Between Two Devs. Amit Jotwani and I get together and we review skills. So that'll be tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. on the Amazon Alexa channel. On Wednesday, I'll be back here from 10 to noon doing this. The beard will be a little bit longer. I'm thinking I need to start trimming it up. It's getting a little shaggy. But we're going to let this thing keep coming in until we can go back to real life. And then on Thursday, I'll be interviewing one of our Alexa champions at 10 a.m. again on the Alexa channel. So at 10 a.m. you can spend some time with me every day if you want. And then on Friday, I've added Fridays as a regular day. So if you look at the bottom of the Twitch page, like where all my information is below the video, you'll see that it has a countdown clock, and it tracks Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. So that is my new schedule on here. And if there's things you guys want to see or you have questions, you guys do a fantastic job of just participating. But I'd love for you to be able to steer the conversation too. So if you have thoughts or ideas or questions or want to see something cool, especially in the context of whatever I happen to be working on, I'm more than happy to do that stuff. I like exploring with you, and if you're invested, then I'm invested. So with that, I'll call it a day. Thank you guys all for tuning in, and I will see you all very soon.